Well, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about too. So this book, first of all, can you tell us the title and the author of the book that you were talking about earlier?
Yes. Start with No by Jim Camp.
Okay. One of the things that you were talking to me about before was that this book has also taught you about really what you're worth, and pricing is something that people struggle with a lot in our business. So, can you talk a little bit about your process on pricing and how that book has kind of helped you with that too?
Yeah. And again, very trial and error.
Yes.
That's the caveat there, right? But I think having that boundary, knowing your worth and being able to just say, yeah, that's what I charge. It can be a little scary at first. And I think for everyone, right? Because it is very difficult. I'm in a big city. It's a pretty wide open market. Like it's a very large range. I don't know if that's typical, but if you're in a small town and everyone's charging 45, I suppose that's a little easier to work around. But in any rate, it is a little strange, but I feel like once I started to work at the rate that I was going and seeing how much I was getting done, I could sink into what that value was. All right, so you figure out your pricing. That the biggest part, and I almost say, I've never heard anyone say this, but I almost think like say it in the mirror a bunch of times or say it to
Yes.
your friends, say it to your spouse. I charge this much an hour. I charge, just keep saying it because I think it's sort of that like, how do I even explain it? Kind of around that boundary thing we were saying before, where it's say, "Oh, I charge $100." "Oh, no, I charge 90." That
Yeah.
sounds better, right? "Oh, no, well, now it's 85." "No, 87." It's like this game, right? It's something to be able to say, "Nope, 100. I charge 100," or whatever that is. And you have to feel it in your bones.
A
It sounds a little Tony
100%.
Robbins, but, like, you gotta really, like, embody it because anybody who doesn't like that, it's okay. There's other options for them, and you gotta be okay to say, "That's alright, I understand if that's not right for you."
With pricing, the most important thing is exactly what you're saying is it's not what you actually charge, it's your ability to confidently say, "This is the investment for my services," or "This is what I charge, and this is what's included." Being able to say that without being wishy-washy and without going, "It's $100 an hour?" That's a question.
Yes,
"It's
right.
$100 an hour" is a statement.
Mhm.
And whatever that number is for you, find that comfort level. Obviously, you also need to make sure you're doing the math on what you need to bring home and how many hours you're going to work and all of that stuff. But that confidence in being able to say, my services start at $100 an hour, and here are your options, and not over explaining and not justifying and not, really. I have used this example a million times. I've said I used a plumber earlier, but I remember there was a day where my kids had to go to the orthodontist, which is $200 trillion. And then later in the day, we had to have a plumber come to the house. And he was at the house for, I don't know, 2 hours. And it was like $500. And he just said, it's $500. And I just paid it because what are you going to do?
Right.
Like, you've got to just say, this is what my services cost. The end.
Yep. It's not a negotiation, and I think that's also in my mind. I make this little joke in my mind really that this isn't a garage sale.
Yes.
If I wanna be honest, that's what I'm actually thinking, which makes me laugh and brings me back down to,
Yeah.
it's okay. This is what I charge, and I don't really have a lot of pushback anymore, mainly because I don't know. I feel like because I'm very confident in it,
Yep.
because I'm okay to walk away. And that's the thing that Jim Camp taught me the most from that book, because when I was earlier in that old business, it really was. I remember somebody saying, "Oh, it costs that much. Oh, I really want to pay this much." And I was like, "Okay." And it's crazy because I'm like, "God, Melissa, why wouldn't you say, fine, I could do it, but for an hour less or whatever?" But it was like, okay.
Yeah.
So where, no. And to be able to say, I completely understand if that's, more than you'd like to pay at this time. Thank you for considering me.
Yeah.
It feels great to be able to say that. I can say that
Yeah.
now. Just to know no, I can't do that, that and that's all right. And you're going to figure out something else, or maybe they end up coming back.
A lot of times they end up coming back.
Yep.
And I was
Yep.
talking to someone the other day that was talking about their pricing and figuring out like what their sweet spot was on pricing. And they were saying that the people that were coming to them would have that moment of like, "Oh, okay," having kind of a stopping moment of, "Boy, that's more than I thought it was gonna be," but all those people have still come back and booked. They just needed to think about it a little bit.
Yeah,
Or they
that's
need to
right.
think about like, this is an investment. I've said it a million times. This is investment in mental health. This is an investment in my happiness and my stress levels. This is investment in my family. There are a lot of things you can use if you wanna kinda go on the sales pitch, but ultimately, you've got to know your value. I struggled with pricing big time at the beginning of my business, and I wish that I would have known my worth a lot earlier. I think it would have prevented a lot of, and I needed the growing pains to figure it out on my own, right? But I,
Yep.
I wish I would have known my worth a lot earlier.
Yes. It's hard, and again, I mean, I feel like I'm a big advocate for women in business. I feel like a lot of times we as women are not necessarily taught
Yeah,
know your worth in the same way that men are, you know? So
100%.
trying to set a better example to younger women in business.
I had this happen to me in my former corporate career, and I had a friend at dinner. My friend at dinner last night was talking about she's going through it right now of, negotiations in a corporate atmosphere of salary and title and that type of thing. And she said, my boss came to me and is giving me a raise and something else. And she said, oh, okay, thanks. And he's like, aren't you going to argue with me and ask for more? And she's like, no,
Yeah.
that didn't even occur to me. And I was like, he was ready to give you more. And you walked away. I do think you're right, is women are not prepared as much to ask for what they're actually worth, or we're willing to settle for a little less. And I just want people, as someone who has struggled with that myself, to know the more you can develop that confidence, you will be so pleased with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it takes a little while to get used to it, to flesh that out, but then like, hey, you can make that same amount of money working a little less.
Yeah.
Spend your extra time taking care of yourself and building up
Yeah.
more resilience in order to take on more.
And I also think that this is a trap that new organizers fall in, or newer, is thinking that I'm not allowed to charge what I really want to because I don't have the experience. This is not an entry level job where you make a smaller salary and then work your way up. You can charge what you want to charge from the beginning.
Yep.
It's again just that confidence. It doesn't mean because you have only organized for 6 months that you cannot charge the same amount that I am charging at 5 years in. You can charge the right amount from the beginning, and that's again something that I really, really wish that I could turn back the clock on for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not?
Yeah,
For somebody new starting out, watch who you talk about this with too.
yeah,
'Cause there's a real culture behind that, and I can say this as an entrepreneur for so long, it's very mysterious to a lot of people, especially who haven't been in it, right? Like, "Oh,
yeah,
no, you can't do that." Sure you can, because who's gonna
yeah.
tell you to? Do what you want.
I mean, this is the so using one of your other businesses, imagine if you would have opened your wine shop and said, "Well, we're a brand new wine shop, so our wine is 50% less money than the wine shop down the street." That's ludicrous.
Haha, yeah.
You would never do that, right?
That's so true.
So we
Yep.
can't do it in a service base, and we find it easy because we're a service-based business, and so, you can just change it, but no, know your worth, and think about
Yes.
analogous industries, and think about how crazy it would be if, some retail store said, "Oh, we're brand new, so we can't charge as much money." Nope.
I mean, that's a very good point, and I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's so true. No, it's so true. Well, and I guess it leads to then, right, where we have no control over how a client is gonna perceive us. Are they
Yep.
going to think we're crazy expensive? Are they gonna think we're crazy cheap? Like, we don't know, right? Everybody has got a different impression of that. And that's actually something else I learned from Jim Camp's book is we are in control of the pitch, of our marketing, how we show up, all of that, all of the preparation, and then you let it go.
Yeah.
We are not in control of if they say yes or no, right? And I think there's a real jump to be like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna offer a discount because I can tell they're wavering it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can do that, but and maybe it would sway things. But do you want to? Ultimately, when somebody says no, and I can say this, I'm a work in progress, but for the most part, if I don't get a job, I do not take it personally. And
Yeah.
I know I used to, but now it's like, What do I know? Maybe they didn't even want to do this at all. Maybe their spouse got mad about it. Maybe they found someone they liked better, and that is okay.
There was someone recently who I actually appreciated her honesty. So she came to me and she's like, told me her whole story and everything. And I was going to set up a consultation with her. And so I went back to her and I was like, hey, just wanted to follow up and set up this consultation. And she came back. She was super polite, but she was like, listen, I love the thought of decluttering and working side by side with you and making that change. But she goes, realistically, my husband and I just need a big team of people to come in here and just fix it for us. So I really appreciate your time, but we're going to go with someone else. And I was like, you should go with someone else.
That's wonderful.
I can't provide that experience for you. And I appreciate your, like, thank you so much. But that's not about me. That's about what they need. And by the way, I want my clients to get what they need. If I'm a person for them, I want them to have the right thing. But we love to make things about us. I mean, I'm particularly gifted at it. And I decide, oh, someone doesn't want to work with me. Oh, it must be, they don't like my website. They don't like my hair. They don't like whatever.
Yep.
No,
I'm too old. I'm too young. Yeah.
I have to remind myself actively all the time, there are a million factors going into someone's decision. As you just said, it might be a spouse who's like, absolutely not. That happens, unfortunately, more than we like in our business. It might be that they just go, I thought I was ready after I had a couple cocktails and I reached out to you and now I'm not ready, or whatever. There are 100,000 reasons that have nothing to do with you. And so taking that personally that's another thing I'm in a work in progress on, but it's really something to think about.
Absolutely. Yeah. The not taking it personally, it's helpful in all aspects of life.
So what is, if you had to go back, so I've talked a little bit about if I had to go back, what do I do? If you had to go back to the very beginning of your organizing business, is there anything that you would want to do differently? Or are you like, nope, I learned all the lessons I needed to the way that I needed to?
Oh, yeah. You know, staying in my lane,
Okay.
definitely staying in my lane. Oh, in the beginning of my business, I was really supply happy. I
Okay.
actually was rehired by a client. That was one of my first, and I was going through my notes and it was like, oh dear God, did I ever buy her bins? I wrote and said, I try to not really go so hard on the bins now, just so you know that, because I think it was a bit much for her. So
Sure.
I know you got a lot of bins to work with there. So I would lay off that because I think that was my compensating, like, I'm an organizer. I know all the bins. So,
Yeah.
and I don't use quite so many supplies anymore. I think those would be the big things because I kind of started and was split up by COVID. I don't really have too many regrets about pricing just because
Sure.
things were such a weird time. But yeah,
I think the bin thing, because a lot of people have that. I think it's just this expectation. This is another, like, one of the lies that social media tells, is because a lot of times on social media, you will see, all the beautiful bins and the pantries and the whatever. And I think that that's oh, well, I guess this is an expectation of every client. And I don't do that. And I totally respect that there are organizers that do it very differently and there is the right time for product. But just that, I think that that's another thing that we think everybody is expecting, and they might not actually be expecting that.
this has been such an interesting thing for me. And I don't know. I love for the whole nation to hear this of organizers, because here in the Bay Area, people are so careful about consumption.
For sure.
So when I first started, of course, it was like, oh, I got to be like this Pinteresty thing and like getting all of the matching bins and I don't even have that in my own home, right? But it was like, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. And I couldn't believe how many clients in the beginning that were like, look, I want to have an organizer, but I do not want all these new bins. I want you to use what I have first. And that's very much what I'd prefer to do, because I don't want to be over consuming either. But it just makes me laugh because it'd be like, wow, that'd be so kind of neat to do a Pinterest pantry one day or something like, but no one wants one.
Right.
So, going back to feeling like you need to be an expert in everything. No, you don't.
Right.
I'm an expert in like 7 different bins because they're so great for challenges people have in super old homes and apartments here in the city.
Yes.
Use them all the time. But I don't know. No, I don't know all the lazy Susans. We don't really use those here. I don't know. There's certain things that we just don't use much.
Well, you're making a super good point, though, is it is geographically based because there are parts of the country where, people are, first of all, the houses are different everywhere. So if you're in an area where you're working with almost all new builds, with huge pantries and whatever, that's very different than you and I are working in homes that have, and in some cases, very tiny closets and, like
Mhm.
spaces that you have to be a little bit more creative in. And what you're saying is you work in a part of the country where there is there's more of a culture or an ethos of, I don't want the things. There are some parts of the country that are going to be much more maximalist on,
Yep.
by the way, I'm talking about the United States. This is different all over the world, right?
Yep.
So we really just knowing your own area, knowing your own expertise and knowing your clients and not deciding for them what they're expecting. That's super key.
Absolutely. And I hear it enough on your podcast. The biggest thing is to be a good listener because that really it took me by surprise and I love it. I don't want to haul all that stuff around. Again, I'm in the city. It's hard to find parking.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be bringing all those bags of stuff up. This works great.
Yeah. I'm just tired. So I just don't want to like have 6,000 things I have to go shop for. I'm
So
exhausted.
true. It's so true.
I got to have a client a couple weeks ago that really it was a very legitimate. It was a garage job, and so I had to have a ton of like the ginormous bins, and I was just like, oh my gosh, just from a sheer like moving things and like getting them in my car and Tetrising them in the car and the
Oh,
whole thing.
Here, yeah. I think that that's also my organized mind. When I go into a home, I just want my little bag
Yeah,
and just be like magical little Melissa that comes and organizes. So when I got all these bags, I'm just like, like it's
yeah,
just too
too
much stuff.
much.
I'm like, just such a mess. It's like it's all gonna fit in. You're gonna be so happy, but like I hate that this is strewn about.
Yes, I totally get. Yeah, I always use the line, we have to crack some eggs to make an omelet. Like when people
Yes.
come in and they're like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? I
Totally.
promise it's all going to come together. So, where can people find you on in the world?
Yeah, you can find out more about me at my website, mgorganizing.com. And on Instagram, although because of my boundaries and some wonderful podcasts I've listened to with the woman right next to me, I'm not on Instagram that much anymore. And it
Love it.
feels delightful.
Great. You don't need to be. I got to tell you, I've talked about this 8 million times, but I've really not had time for almost any social media lately. And I went on yesterday really quickly, and it's hysterical. It's hysterical to me how this happens. I get more followers when I don't post on Instagram than
Yeah.
when I.
You know what? They're messing with us. I really believe that's the algorithm of them being like, we're trying to get her back in because I've gotten more. You're totally right.
Oh,
And
I'm
it's
like,
weird.
and then when I post, I lose followers, and I'm like, what? That makes no sense. So you guys just be chill
I
about it. Yeah, it's fine.
Totally. You know what? That is the one thing I would love to talk about just for a minute, though, because that
Sure.
was so helpful to hear. I mean, really, when you did that podcast, I was like, oh, thank God I'm done. Because part of me kept thinking, what am I doing this for? And I'm Gen X. So I just assumed when I got into doing organizing that this is just going to have to be my life now. And I do love learning new things. So in a way, it was kind of cool that I was stretching myself a bit and figuring things out. And like in the moment, I can't say that I regret it all. It was fine. But then I got so busy with organizing and I'm going, "God, right, I'm spending this time on this. Why? Who's
Yep.
seeing it? My friends and some
Other
random in
organizers.
Oregon. What is the point of this?
It's
But I
it's
thought you had to do it like something magical was gonna happen. Unclear what, but something magical was going to happen.
yeah, we've been brainwashed to some degree
Yeah,
about this is what we have to do. And there are some people for whom social media is important, depending on what you do.
for
Like
sure.
for what Pro Organizer Studio does, it is more important. But for local organizers, it's just let that pressure off yourself. Just do not have to do it.
Absolutely. I'm for this whole thing. It's very exciting. I don't know why we all think that we need to do it. And then also to the point of, I take my clients' privacy very seriously.
Like,
So occasionally when I do get well, where are your before and afters on Instagram? To say, oh, I don't do those. Well, and also, that is, see, to me, that is so mean to be like, look at how bad it looked
look,
before. And now look at
that's
it now. Like, come
it.
on.
You are actually ripping on their house, and you are
Yes.
saying you weren't good enough. This is why I hate the phrase new year, new you, because I'm like, why was the old me not good enough? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I that whole concept of what a disaster before and look at this, wonderful result. It's not to say that you don't want to see the wonderful result, but like by really kind of ripping on their original situation, which is not great.
Totally. Well, and then also oftentimes I'm reusing a hodgepodge of stuff. They're thrilled, but that's not a Pinterest rainbow home edit situation. Like, who can keep up with that? I can't.
I want to talk about just one more thing before we go to this is totally off subject of anything we've talked about, but the name of your organizing business, just a friendly reminder to everyone who is stressing out over branding their business. You can just be your name organizing. The end.
The end. And that was from a friend of mine when I was trying to come up with something. And she was like, "What about your name?" I'm like, "Yeah, but my name's kind of hard to pronounce." I'm just like, "Well, but then you can be whatever you want it to be." And I was like, "Ding, fine." And I don't know if this is in every state, but in California, you don't have to go through certain hoops to license your name or however that works, right? And that was a bonus because I've had to do that so many times with my other businesses. So it was
Sure.
like, great, it's just my name.
Yeah. You can just be your name and it is totally fine. And you do not have to go through this 6-month long process of figuring out, what are your most important words and all that kind of stuff. So that I love that too.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I heard you say that too, right? That most of your or many of your clients don't even know the name of your business.
I would bet almost any amount of money that if I quiz them, just walked in and be like, what's the name of my business? Unless they just paid
Like,
my
what?
invoice like 4 seconds ago. Like
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
I could probably name it. I really don't.
And that's cool. And me being concerned that no one can pronounce my last name. Who
Right.
uses my last name? When I
Right.
introduce myself or call someone on the phone, it's like, "Hey, it's Melissa the
I'm
organizer."
Melissa. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like it's fine.
Oh, I
Yeah.
totally call myself Melissa the organizer all the time. I'll be like, hi, this is Melissa the organizer.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at
It
for
gets
that, by
straight
the
to
way.
the point. Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
just be Melissa the organizer, unless your name isn't Melissa, in which case it'd be weird. So
Yeah, that's true. Don't do that.
also one of the two of us should go buy melissatheorganizer.com right after this call. So
I know, that's so true. Or Melissa Keyser.
yes,
We're gonna have to
ready.
fight over that.
We're gonna have to have a Melissa party. Well, thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This has just been so delightful.
Well, and we hope that you have an amazing summer in your business, all of your businesses. So
Thank you. I hope the same for you.